Nick Reis joins us live from Signal Hill. Nick, how's it looking outside?
Well, guys, we haven't seen the massive amounts of snowfall that some of the more northern parts of the viewing area have, but we have gotten some, and that combined with the very cold and windy conditions has led to slick roads across the city. And I spoke with Sergeant Tom Gill of the Sioux City Police Department, and he says that they've seen a handful of accidents across town due to these slick road conditions. Sergeant Gill says these accidents were only minor fender benders. However, with the conditions expected to get worse throughout the night, it's still extremely important to take caution if you have to go out on the roads either tonight or tomorrow. Also, Sergeant Gill says that if your kids do have to go to school tomorrow, make sure there is a safe way to get them there. And guys, also, Sergeant Gill says that if you do have to travel anywhere tomorrow morning, make sure you're giving yourself a few extra minutes to scrape off your windshield, because with these cold temperatures and the expected snowfall we're going to get tonight, there's a solid chance they will be frozen over.
All right, thanks for that update, Nick.
The second fire began at this brown house just to my right at 503 Elm Street, and like you said, it's just 3 blocks away from the initial blaze. Upon arriving, officials found 3 people dead inside of the home. Crews worked quickly to put out the fire while doing their best to preserve any evidence. Like the first fire, officials say foul play is suspected. They also added that accelerants may have been used. After the second fire, officials got a report of a black male driving a silver sedan out of town headed west on Highway 20. Investigators say that the suspect may have also picked up a second passenger on their way out of town. Police say the suspects may have been burned in the flames. Anyone with any information is encouraged to call the Nebraska State Patrol at 402-479-4921. Officials say it could be a while before any names are released, and they say that once all the families of the deceased are notified, they'll be able to provide the victims' identities. Matt?
Nick Reis in Laurel, Nebraska for us tonight. Nick, thank you.
Like many others who served in World War I, Treptow never made it home from battle, but he gained recognition across the country from the pledge that was found written in his pocket. One way Goodwill of the Great Plains helps fulfill their mission of giving back to the community is through their job centers like this one right here inside of the Storm Lake store. It's been open for 9 years and gives locals the opportunity to fill out resumes and apply for jobs right here in the store.
When the Haydenfelds first bought the roller rink in 1976, it needed to be fixed up a little. So it was the kids that got to work and spent the whole summer repairing the building.
You might think that watching a car crash through your fence into your backyard would be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. However, this actually isn't the first time that this has happened to the McCune family. And after receiving those awards earlier in the year and their busiest June on record, Kings Point is now looking towards the future with a number of renovations across the resort.
It's a case that has haunted the Vermilion community for over 50 years. Back in 1971, 2 girls went missing while on their way to a party, and now the community is finally getting answers.
Now, Phase 1A, which includes this bridge that you can see behind me, is back underway, and organizers with Plywood say that it's expected to be complete by the end of the year. And while for many playing in United Way's tournament, today is a day to try out a new sport, the money raised will go a long way towards their campaigns that help out hundreds of Siouxlanders each year. For over 100 years, Goodwill of the Great Plains has carried out their mission of helping people in the community by connecting people with jobs and giving them affordable clothing options. But now they're taking that mission one step further with the creation of a brand new community center on the west side.
I just received my very own curling lesson here at the Yankton Ice Rink, and now it's time for me to put my skills to the test to see if I got what it takes. Wow. Clearly, my skills still need some work. Thankfully, though, curling is a sport that you can compete in for your entire life.
Good evening and happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I'm Stella Daskalakis. Matt is off tonight. More than a month ago, we told you about 11 Minutes. It's a 4-part docuseries about the 2017 Las Vegas shooting, known as the deadliest mass shooting in American history. It was produced by Ashley Hoff, a LA-based journalist and producer who grew up in Storm Lake, Iowa, and survived the shooting. Today, we take a closer look into her experience at the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival and how it inspired her to make the documentary. KTIV's Nick Reis has the story.
Attending the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival was a tradition for Ashley Hoff and her husband, Sean. They went each year to celebrate their anniversary.
2017 was shaping up to be another great year, but everything took a tragic turn during the final act. The Hoffs began hearing popping noises, which they thought might be firecrackers or a blown amp.
I went back to watching the show and took my phone out to take a couple of photos and turned back to him to say, "Oh my gosh, isn't this amazing?" And I did watch the person behind him get shot in their face.
Panic broke out. Spectators hit the ground, hoping to avoid the line of fire.
We remained on the ground. It was really interesting. People started to weave themselves together like a human quilt, putting body parts that you knew you might be able to get shot in and survive over other people's body parts that you knew that if they did that, they might not. And so a woman was laying on top of me. My legs were on top of Sean.
After the shots began to die down, people chaotically scrambled away from the scene. Hoff ended up leaving behind her cowboy boots after slipping several times as she ran away. She and Sean took refuge in a condo complex a few miles down the road when they noticed another couple heading towards a second-story parking garage.
There's only one reason you go up to the parking garage: you've got a car. And we threw ourselves on top of a car, and God bless, two strangers. They got out. They were certainly not happy with us at first. We were bloody and dirty and on top of their windshield, and they were trying to get the heck out of there.
The strangers hadn't witnessed the shooting. They were simply heading to their car while on vacation. And after explaining the situation, Ashley and Sean got a ride with them all the way back to California. Hoff says she still speaks with the couple on each anniversary of the shooting. After returning home, Hoff couldn't stop thinking about the cowboy boots she left behind. While the boots had no special meaning to her, she did everything to find them, including asking a friend to go back and look for them and even getting in contact with the FBI. Months later, she was reunited with the boots after finding them in a catalog full of missing items from the festival.
They were the last part of me that were in that field that night, and they got to come home. And so for me, a chapter was closing and a new one got to open, a new chapter of healing. And also they were a part of my life-saving miracle.
Hoff's conversation with the FBI agent who dropped off the boots helped her see the items in the catalog in a whole different light.
They weren't just items, they were a representation of thousands of people's incredible story from that night. And truly that was the moment I knew I wanted to pursue telling the story.
She got to work shortly after, tracking down dozens of other survivors, first responders, and even performers from the festival who were willing to tell their stories. She also gathered video from survivors who had captured the chaos and police and SWAT team body cam footage. Now, more than 5 years after that tragic day, Hoff's 4-part docuseries, 11 Minutes, is available to watch on Paramount+. She says the documentary has helped greatly with the healing process for herself and others.
To hear that it is out there creating healing for people, that it is helping them to feel like our story was represented and will now be remembered, that their loved one lost will now be remembered and what they went through will be remembered. That's the good stuff. That's the stuff you hope to do as a creator.
In Sioux City, Nick Reis, KTIV News 4.
What an incredible story. 11 Minutes is now available for streaming on Paramount+.
Food plays a big part of the Clay County Fair as well. For the last 6 years, the fair has held the world's greatest county fair food contest. The judges and the public pick blue ribbon dishes. Today, KTIV's Nick Reis tasted the best the fair has to offer.
Visitors at the Clay County Fair here in Spencer say the #1 reason they visit is because of family time and tradition. However, a close second is the food. And today, I got to try all 5 finalists from the world's greatest county fair food competition to see what's tasting good. When I arrived, I quickly noticed rows and rows of food carts and a delicious smell in the air. To start my experience with a bang, I quickly found the winner of the judges portion of the competition, Ormick Concessions. They stole the show with their Texas-style roasted corn, an ear of corn roasted in the husk and covered in butter, mayonnaise, red chili sauce, and Mexican cojita cheese. And let me tell you, I certainly was not disappointed.
That is so good. It's sweet, salty, saucy,
Thank you. Clearly, the napkin was needed because that corn had the juice. After downing my corn, I made my way over to the Gobble Stop Turkey Shop, where I was ready to gobble down their entry, the brisket nachos. The chips were loaded up with fresh smoked brisket, barbecue sauce, optional jalapenos, and melty cheese that's sure to please.
That is so good. It's salty, crunchy, a little spicy. They got all the good food here in Clay County, guys.
Although my stomach was beginning to fill up, there was more food to taste. My next stop was the Bacon Box, where they had their famous barbecue Berkshire bacon balls. They were a hit at the Iowa State Fair and in my stomach. I was getting a little parched, so I also tried their lemonade creamsicle, which was both refreshing and delicious. I had made it past the halfway point with just 2 more finalist dishes to try. Next up was the Iowa Egg Council. They won a blue ribbon at the Iowa State Fair in 2019 for their fried deviled eggs and made the finals with them in Clay County's competition. I'm not a huge deviled egg fan, so I started off a little bit skeptical, but after taking a bite, I was pleasantly surprised.
Wow. I'm not even a huge egg guy. That is really good.
The eggs were crunchy on the outside and fluffy in the middle, and the yolk dipping sauce added a great horseradish tang. Being an eggnog lover, I also made sure to try their eggnog iced coffee, which was an amazing treat. With a full stomach and high expectations, I was now down to my final stop, Grilled Cheese. They were a finalist in 2021 with their pickle wrap and made it back this year with their lasagna griller.
So good.
While all the dishes I tried were awesome, that grilled cheese had to take the cake. The bread was crisp and buttery, and the lasagna filling paired with it perfectly. I left the Clay County Fair with a full, happy stomach, and if you pay the fair a visit before it closes on September 18th, I'm sure you'll do the same. In Spencer, Iowa, Nick Reis, KTIV.
Exciting and anticipated events of the weekends is the University of Okoboji Winter Games and the Red Bull Ice Scramble, a high-speed UTV race on frozen East Lake Okoboji. KTIV's Nick Reis got the really cool opportunity to learn more about the sport and even experience it firsthand.
To some people, it's like the thought of going on a frozen lake is pretty crazy.
Consider myself some people, but the Red Bull Ice Scramble, a high-speed UTV race on frozen Lake Okoboji, is a tradition at the annual University of Okoboji Winter Games. 52 racers registered to compete on the track at 10 a.m. Saturday, one of which was Red Bull athlete Andrew Carlson. And although this was only his second year racing on ice, it's come as second nature to him.
I race professionally all summer on dirt, and they're actually very similar. This is actually easier in the sense that there's a little more traction, so you can go a little faster, and I think it's a little more fun even than on dirt.
Carlson says that in the ice scramble, his UTV will reach top speeds of 70 to 80 miles per hour. Despite it sounding a little scary to be going that fast on the ice, he makes sure to stay calm and focused, especially around turns.
Keep a steady flow going with all the corners, and you kind of feel it when you're rushing a corner too much or you're going to make a mistake.
However, there are some unique difficulties presented with racing on the ice.
When you're actually racing with other cars on the ice, it gets a little snow dust, and everything's all white, so it's a little tougher to see. But yeah, it's just part of the challenge.
The Ice Scramble is actually more than just a Winter Games event. It's the kickoff of the Scramble Series, which takes racers on terrains across the country throughout the year.
It's kind of a year-long deal, and you can kind of pick the ones you want to go hit and what sounds fun, and you can basically run the same razor or the same UTV at every event. That's the cool part. There's sand and snow and ice and all kinds of stuff. So they're going to Alaska all the way to New Jersey. Out of all of them, one of the craziest things is coming on a frozen lake and racing here in Iowa.
And with the Red Bull Ice Scramble being such an important event at the University of Okoboji Winter Games, it's only right that I get out on the ice and experience a scramble for myself. I strapped on my helmet and prepared for a wild ride. And a wild ride I got. The UTV felt even faster than I had expected, and I felt the force on every turn. The thrill of the ride even made me forget about the cold. I can definitely say it was a unique ride I'll never forget. In Okoboji, Iowa, Nick Reis, KTIV News 4.
Well, I'll tell you what, Nick Reis, braver man than myself, as the next step in the 8-leg scramble series is the Red Bull Show Snow Scramble, as that'll take place on February 18th in Copenhagen, Michigan.